Welcome back. How'd you guys do this year at SAINTCON? Did you guys do all right? We're glad. We're going to do just a little bit of review. For those of you that were here during opening ceremony, some of these slides might be familiar. But we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're not going to do a closing keynote or anything this year. We're going to, we've got a lot of tired committee members and other things, and man, we just want to pack up and go home. But I do want to just say thank you in advance, and I'll say that again at the very end, but thank you for having such an awesome time at this cool conference. It's kind of bittersweet to say goodbye after 3.5 days of weirdness, and anybody see like the group of people downstairs with their phones out trying to take a picture of a cockroach because it reminded them of Trevor? We are weird people. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so let me get through a couple of slides. I'll go a little slower this time. I'm a little more relaxed and not nervous, and I'm worn down or whatever, because I kind of breezed through some of these things during our opener. I want to talk just a little bit about the Utah Saint organization. The Utah Saint is the organization that runs this conference. It's a 501c6 nonprofit, and it's geared toward security professionals, security and IT professionals. You don't have to be in security to join the Utah Saint organization, but this organization is the one that runs this conference. That's probably the most visible thing that we do, but we do a lot of other cool and interesting things as a community throughout the year. We do things like, or we have this Slack instance like every other thing. How many of you guys have like 4 or 5 Slack instances you're part of, right? If you just need another one, join the Utah Saint Slack instance. It's quite active. There's a lot of people on there having all sorts of crazy, fun, interesting, and sometimes very valuable, I said sometimes very, like as if it's rare, but valuable discussions are happening in that forum. And it's only open to the Utah Saint membership. We sort of do that because we want to keep the riffraff out, but we also want to make sure that there's some sort of benefit for being a member of the organization. And so that's one of the things that we have like a gatekeeper access to. But there's other things that we do. Security briefings. How many of you guys participate, watch our security briefings? Okay, it's not widely known, and maybe we should do more publicity, but about once every 2 weeks, the members of the organization will get this nondescript email that says, hey, we're going to do this WebEx thing, and Troy's going to sit there and talk to himself for 40 minutes about all of the latest security threats, trends, and tactics. Sometimes there's a lot of great information to talk about, and sometimes I really struggle trying to find anything that's interesting. But I put time and effort and energy into it, and we generally have some pretty good discussions. Well, I had discussed it with myself. Whenever it comes time for, hey, does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about or that they think is interesting, I just hear crickets chirping in the background. But hey, listen, there's at least 60 people on most of those calls that are getting the information, and so we know that they're valuable. 60 people over and over again. It's not just like, oh, one time we had 60 and now it's 2 or whatever. So, valuable. That's what the Utah Saint organization is all about. We don't do this conference because we do it because of community. Anyways, next. SAINTCON, yay, great SAINTCON. Here's what I want to do. I want to recognize the committee members again, and we kind of breezed through this during the opener again, but I want them to stand up. If they're in the room, some of them aren't. Some of them are downstairs tearing things out, but committee members, would you stand up? We're going to ask for a round of applause in a second, but these people are all volunteers, every single one of them. Nobody's getting paid anything. They're all volunteers that have organically become part of this con at different points throughout the year, and they love doing it. And they dedicate tons of time, sometimes hundreds of hours. And that's not an exaggeration. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours to dedicate to SAINTCON. Would you please give them a round of applause? I would bring them up on stage and let them bow and do those kinds of things, but we're going to try and get through most of this pretty quick. The next, again, we breezed through it during the opener, but the staff members Some of these names, now that you've had an opportunity to hang out at SAINTCON and do some of the challenges and the contests and things, you're going to recognize some of these. We're putting their real names rather than their handles up there, but Josh Galvez, Mike Weaver, John Crothers, Jim Stewart, Corey Stokes, Garth, Misha. I mean, I'm not going to read them all. There's a lot of them. But these are the people that help out and support and do the contests, the events, the interesting things that you guys have been playing around with for the last 3.5 days. And so please give them a round of applause. They deserve it as well. And our staff membership keeps growing every single year. If you want to get involved, propose something. And Kevin's going to talk about how you can do some of that here in just a little bit. The last thing that I wanted to do in recognition, here are our current list of volunteers. Now, how many of you have volunteered and started just doing stuff while you've been at the conference and your name doesn't appear on that list? You can raise your hand. We can give you some recognition too. I know there's a few of them. It's like, hey, these guys just come out of the woodwork. And it was at one point, I think Matt was saying, maybe it was somebody else, but it might be Matt from Hardware Hacking. He's like, we've got these 3 people, we have no idea who they are, but they're sitting up on the stage there in the hardware hacking community helping people solder stuff. It's kind of cool. Those kinds of things help, and we appreciate it. But the volunteers, these are the people that work behind the scenes, making sure that we can open up walls and move couches around and all those things. Please give a round of applause to our volunteers as well. And so, last of all, for the applaud polling, we're going to talk just a little bit about our sponsors and such. Most of them aren't here today, so we can actually not applaud if we don't want to. I'm teasing. They deserve it and stuff. But I do want to mention that we involve sponsors for one important reason. And actually, Jason in our panel this morning probably hit the nail on the head more than anything else. We involve the sponsors so that we can have cool things like big badges with blinky lights and those kinds of things, but we also do it because that's how we get the money that we need to start prepping for next year. The badge design starts in less than a month for next year, and there's research and development, there's tools, there's parts, there's pieces, and all these things that cost us money, and this is how we make it happen. Our Uber sponsor this year, this is the first time we've actually totally sold our Uber sponsorship. It's been in the prospectus for years, but CenturyLink finally, we fished them. I don't know what we did to them, but we got them hook, line, and sinker. But they brought a bunch of partners to make it happen, and it was an incredible opportunity for them and for us. So they brought some great vendors, and we enjoyed them very much being our Uber sponsor this year. And so give them a round of applause. If they're in the room, you can take a bow. And then I'll go through all of the rest all in one fell swoop, and then you can applaud at the end if you feel so desired. So our gold sponsors, CompuNet and Cisco. CompuNet brought the Red versus Blue Challenge. The thing is it wasn't here the last day and a half because they also had committed to having it at CactusCon, and so they were here, they did it as much as they could, and then they packed it up and it went on a plane, and it's at CactusCon at this point. But Cisco was also here. They've got some incredibly cool things that they're doing as well. We appreciate them being here. And our silver sponsors, Comcast Business, they're the ones that provided for us the gigi connection that you guys had, great wireless, except for I'll mention, except for when everybody was playing with deauthorization. Our wireless network and the connectivity was rock solid again this year, and we've got Tristan on the committee and Luke and some others that help build this thing year over year. What you'll notice is maybe, if you're very familiar with SAINTCON, you'll notice that we normally have all these APs stuck on these little poles all over the place. Do you see them this year? Can you even see an access point? You can't. They're hiding. They're secret. Actually, because in part of this conference, the Utah Valley Convention Center upgraded their entire wireless infrastructure, and so for the first year ever, we've run a tech conference off of existing in-venue web or wireless architecture. So Kudos to Cisco for providing them that equipment. It's running on Cisco hardware, so maybe I should go back and mention that with the Cisco slide. It's provided using Cisco APs and interconnectivity services. The Gigi link that we're using to get out to the internet, which is more than the conference center normally has, was provided by Comcast Business. We've got CrowdStrike and Qualys and Converge One. These are people, some of them that have been year-over-year sponsors of SAINTCON and understand the value here. Bluehost is kind of new this year. We've had them involved in the past. How many of you guys walked by their booth and saw a sign that just says, hey, we're out enjoying the con, don't worry about us? You know, they were here to recruit people. They were here to just be involved and participate in the conference, and we appreciate that kind of investment of time and money to where they're not even there to kind of lull or lure in our attendees to a booth to just talk about things that might or might not be, right? Okay, last on the list here, we got Braintrace and RSA, who we love. They're a year-over-year sponsor. Proactive, they're big in the education community. A lot of the educators and school districts and folks use them for a lot of different things. CVE is another incredibly great group of people that a lot of you are probably working with. Security Metrics, Silent Break, etc. NLE. We've got some great sponsors, and it's because of them that we have the drinks, the great food, well, sort of great food. The food was great, but you guys paid for that pretty much in your ticket price. But the drinks, the badges, and other things. This is why we do sponsors. They did a great job this year being low-key. It was awesome. Give them a round of applause. And so now we're all done with the thank you parts of the slide deck, sort of. So what I want is I want Bash Ninja, CompuKid Mike to come on up for just a second. We're not even going to give them a mic to talk as much as I'm just going to talk about them. If you participated in their badge talk where they talked about the whole history of how this year's badge worked and how I gave them only 43 days to come up with some design and send it out to Fab and everything else, these guys pulled off a miracle of miracles this year with the badges, the lead times, and everything else. And so I want them to stand here and receive the recognition. How many of you guys enjoyed the badge this year? So we couldn't appreciate them more. What we normally do for the badge folks is we give them coats. So they've got a nice coat with a SAINTCON logo on it. One of them's one size for you, and one of them's another size that fits you, so figure out which one's which. But one of the other things I wanted to talk just briefly about is a black badge and what that kind of means. A black badge at SAINTCON is kind of a status symbol. If you're walking around with a black badge, it means you've done something really cool. Whether it's win the Hackers Challenge game, which we're going to award a black badge for that this year a little bit later, but we also award a black badge to the badge designers. It doesn't necessarily get them in for free. They're going to have to still build a badge next year to get in for free. But they get the cool designed badge. I mean, CompuKid Mike, he's done an incredible job. It looks gorgeous and everything else, so you guys get both one of these as well. And you can now get off the stage. All right, and we're going to just keep going faster and faster and faster here. Okay, so next slide. Does anybody see what's in the circle right there? Red circle? It's a laptop. This year marked a first. It's all of a sudden it's kind of all serious and dreary now. This year marked a first. We had a laptop sitting in the Mobile Hacking Village. The timestamp up here, which might be off the screen just a little bit, is during our family event. How many of you guys enjoyed the family event, by the way? Okay, brought your kids. We loved that. That will most certainly be coming back next year. But during that event, that brought the morale up a little bit as we talk about this. That laptop was stolen. The good news is it wasn't stolen by any of our kids, and we're pretty darned confident that it wasn't stolen by anybody in our community. But you can see the guy next to it there. We think it's somebody who came in off the street and just kind of moseyed around, and here's a picture of him leaving with a box and a backpack and stuff, and some of our equipment went with him. And so it's just a little bit sad, but we put this up there for transparency so you guys can see that stuff like this happens. We are a security community, so you can imagine that when we saw or we knew that this had happened, we were working on, okay, video surveillance, let's get this guy. And I can tell you that we have video of the whole grab the laptop, shove it in the bag, and those kinds of things. And we get into victim mode like, hey, we're just going to just make this guy's life just a living heck. But at this point, you know, he got us, and we're going to learn, and we're going to adapt, and we're going to be awesomer. That's a proper verb, right? Awesomer next year. So anyways, you don't have to clap for this, but just know that when you are around SAINTCON, I guess we're now big enough and crazy enough that you just can't leave your laptops around. We've been leaving oscilloscopes and soldering irons and all kinds of things out for just people to come in by and just do what they need to do with. And so our concern is growing just a little bit. With that dull, dreary news, we're ready to move on to something fun and interesting. I would like to invite Kevin Howard up to the stage. He goes by Lean as his handle, and he's going to take the majority of the rest of the time talking about contests and events.
Yeah!
You want to take this one? Here.
Can you stay with that attached to you right here? Okay, we're good. Thanks. Contests and events. Woo! Let's fix that. How many people participated? Woo! First time. Oh no. There are sheep in the building, everyone. What do you call it? Yeah, you can bring the sheep up. Not on the stage, but over here. One of the challenges that we have every year is coming up with awesome contests and events for you guys. We try and take the feedback that you guys give us every year and make next year bigger and better. And I think we did a good job this year, but one of the concerns is this. So when we put a call out for contests and events, this is what I get. Marv was here scavenger hunt, shear the sheep competition, and a bum shaving contest for beards, I guess. But yeah, so we need more ideas, guys. That's not helpful. Not helpful. But it's fun. It's fun. I like it. But you're going to see a call for contests and events come out earlier this year. Last year, or this year, was the first year that we submitted an official call for contests and events because we wanted to allocate a bigger budget, make things better, and honestly, I don't think we had the volunteer staff available to make more contests, let alone the expo hall space, right? So we're going to be doing some things to redesign the expo hall space so that we can try and fit in more things, not just in the events and contest side, but the HHC side as well. So we really appreciate everyone coming out and participating for these contests and events. They're intended to kind of spark your imagination, let you ask questions, group up, feed off of each other to really have a good time and learn. And so I hope everyone had a good time with that. So we're going to get right into the awards. The way I want to run this is the Hackers Challenge in a second. Josh is going to come up on stage and announce the winner for that. All other winners, I'd like after we're done here, let's meet over here at this front table and we have your prizes for you. So let's start with Josh Galvez, the Hackers Challenge. Yeah, use the podium mic. So Josh is our game master, does a fantastic job every year coming up with creative challenges. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you guys. Without you, this couldn't happen. So without further ado, I'd like to announce our first, second, and third prize winners and invite our first place winner, Rise and Rigel, on up.
Woo! Do you have the... Oh, it's up here.
Good job.
It's a great contest.
So here's your black badge. Right, here's your black badge. Really appreciate you playing the game. You really rocked out of the waters. Here's the final scoreboard with 70,000 points.
Woo!
Yeah! And I have another prize for you that I'll let you choose from here in a second. So leave this down the bottom.
Real quick, how many hours did you spend on this?
Was there a conference going on?
Yes, there was a conference going on.
First place practice challenge takes almost the entire 5 days of the conference. Like that, you've got to become dedicated and spend working nights. So,
Nice job.
and then I also invite up 11, 633, and Odie, second and third, they also received some prizes. So thank you.
And we'll meet you guys over here in a little bit. Thank you, Josh. These lights are really bright. How many people were able to participate in the Hackers Challenge or pre-con events? Nice job, Josh. Look at that. Pre-con. Yeah, pre-con was awesome until number 5. Okay. Vault. This year was interesting. So this year we, yeah. The people who went to the vault understand what's going on. What's new? 3 rooms. That's what. Yeah. 3 rooms. Next year, 3 stories. 3 stories? No. Total of 13 teams competed, 42 people total, so thank you for all who come out and watch that. I know there was, this year we had a 360 camera YouTube stream, so for those of you who weren't there, you were able to see it. Those of you who weren't at the, it was awesome. It was very awesome. So thanks for those who participated. Thanks for those who just spectated. We've been trying to make this a spectator sport to get everyone involved and to learn. I know during the After Dark, we had a lot of families going through there, running through it, and the kids were just lighting up. So sorry, parents, for what is about to happen when you go home. So definitely a ton of new talent and new blood. And when I say a ton of new blood, I literally mean blood. There were the blood splatters on some of the walls because of cutting and trying to break into the doors. So we're going to be a little bit more careful next year on some of that. 5 teams were able to copy a fingerprint for the biometric safe, and 3 were actually successful. So last year we had the safe that had a fingerprint sensor on it, and I think 2 teams attempted, 1 was successful, and because they were successful, I made them run it this year. So yeah, they're back there high. Yeah, that'll teach them. When you win, you run it next year. So this year I'm going to announce the top 3. We've got prizes for the top 2, but the third team was really close and did a really good job. So third place is UVU Network Operations. Yeah. Second place, you get a fun prize, and I apologize in advance because you're going to see it. Kevin and the Hackistans. And in first place, these guys are awesome, come out every year, work really hard, high tech, low tech. And we'll meet you guys over here in a little bit. Okay, new challenge, Los Santos. This one was fun. This is a perfect example of when you don't submit for call for contests and events but still want to get involved. We had Colin Jackson call me up and say, hey, I want to do this breakout challenge. What do you think? Let's do it. How much money do you need? So, sorry, but some people had a really fun time with this. You're blindfolded, handcuffed, and you had your pockets emptied, and you had to break through the door, and I think the safe as well. Colin Jackson did a phenomenal job on this. We had 17 people complete the easy version, 3 people complete the hard version, and then this happened at one point. I love the creativity. Wait, you took all my tools. I got to get them back. So first place for the easy version, Amelia Kimber. And to clarify, easy version is still not very easy. So first place for the hard version, Jimmy Longs. Shocker. And we've got some fun stuff for you guys out here after the ceremony. Okay, next up, we're going to bring Seth Johnson.
Yeah!
Woo!
Thanks, everyone. It falls to me to talk about a couple of these challenges. The first one I want to talk about are the pre-con challenges. For those of you who have not played the pre-con challenges, you should next year. Those are the challenges that we release in advance of the conference to get everyone excited and to kind of get some of the jitters out for the challenges that are about to come.
Thank you so much.
The first challenge included a really tiny animated SVG of Iron Man, and for a small period of the day he would actually say, the string that you were looking for in base 64, and the rest of the day would say just utter garbage. Sure, lots of you enjoyed that. The next challenge was a very similar small animated image that had the message encoded in binary, and we had a couple people figure that one out as well. And then the third one is represented here. That one was an implementation of war games where you had to get different launch codes, and every single person had to have their launch code entered in by someone else. We had a couple teams get 20 people together, and it was fun to watch that all happen. I know Troy and I were sitting there on Slack just laughing out of our chairs because it was just awesome. And then our Pre-Con 4 was the War Games Tic-Tac-Toe. How many of you played that one? Yeah. Hope that was fun for you. It was a nightmare to build. And then our last one was, I guess, finding hotel room numbers from committee members, which hopefully none of you actually did. Anyway, the Pre-Con Challenge was actually won by Josh Gubler, and he won it in this stage. He actually scripted this challenge and had like 200 entries that he was able to put in all by himself. So, nice job, Josh. And then the next challenge I want to talk about was the wireless hunt. This was a new one that we came up with this year. Troy and I were sitting next to a pool, and I said, hey, I want to do this thing. I want to build some Wi-Fi access points, power them by a battery, and just go put them out somewhere and have people kind of chase this down like a scavenger hunt. The very first one was In the Boom. Our fantastic Uber sponsors lowered that just so that we could put that in there, and it worked great to get that started. Then after you solved the challenge at that one, it gave you instructions to get to Get Out Games here in Provo. I hope that those of you who did this challenge took a moment to play an escape room while you were doing that. The next thing that I tried to do in honor of Trevor, I went to Smashburger to get permission to place one of these devices in their location, and they said no. Basically, they said I needed to contact corporate, and I knew there was no way that was going to happen. So the next plan was to go right next door to Roll Up Cafe. They're a crepe store, and they totally said yes. So you can get access to Beacon number 3 from Smashburger, and you can get a caramel shake while you're at it. Hope that you did that too. Our final external beacon was at Heber Hatchets here in downtown Provo, so that you could get out some of your frustration of having to solve all those challenges by throwing hatchets. And we have a team of 3 people that are the winners for that challenge, including Josh Gubler, Braden Winterton, and Joseph Moore. So after this, please meet us over here to get your prizes. And then for my last slide, I want to talk about telling a friend. During our panel today, we talked about what we do for marketing, and the answer is nothing. You guys do all the marketing for us. We would love for you to tell your friends who are interested in this kind of thing about this conference, and when you register for the conference, we always send a referral code that you can use to refer people to the conference. We run a contest for that. Bash Ninja, you are the winner for that, referring 11 people to the conference, so thank you very much. And come meet us over here for your prize later. And I guess you're up next too. Yeah. No coincidence there.
Okay, so I ran Pasture Crack again this year, and we had a lot of teams playing. It was way awesome. We really loved it. This year we changed it up. So last year we did 60 million hashes. That was crazy. This year we said instead of the same hash type, we're gonna do like 10 different hash types. So they had to crack password managers, they had to crack zip files, they had to crack WordPress, SQL dumps, all kinds of things. And we had a lot of fun. We had the first 3 winning teams were actually off-site, and so they're not eligible to win. Because we have people coming and playing our CTF because it's so much fun. I'm just gonna recognize them. We had SAINTCON Prime. Yeah. We have a guy from Germany named Bash. I liked his name. And then we had a team called John Users. Now, for the on-site players, it's a little harder because you have a whole con to do. For them, from first, second, and third, for first place, we had a team whose name I'm not going to say because it's a hash. It's super awesome, but I'll say the first four. It's 4907. Second place was USHE Goblins. And then third place was Behemoths. And thank you, and we have prizes over here for you.
Sorry. Matt's up next, guys. He's looking at me. I told him he was up next, but
We see where I rate, but so first off, thanks to everybody that came out and helped in the communities, because it's called a community because we are a community and you guys make it the community. Like that's why it's successful every year. There's a couple of things that we wanted to recognize really quick. Specifically, the soldering time. You guys, we did the SMD challenge. I don't know how many of you guys even tried that, but the sum up of the SMD challenge, if you didn't, is friends don't let friends do the SMD challenge. The first guy that came up and bought a kit this year, he comes up, he's like, "Oh, do you have those again? It gave me PTSD last year. It was awesome. Can I buy one?" So we've got a couple of people, there were several that solved. I think there were probably 8 people that, not solved, but that completed the SMD challenge. You got all the parts soldered and all of the lights lit up. One guy, Tyler Steiner, if you're here, raise your hand. Don't raise your hand because I can't see anything. He decided that 1 wasn't enough. He had to do 2. And they both looked awesome. So come find me after. You did, yours was perfect and looked great. The other one, the other guy who was so stressed about doing good that he probably spent more time cleaning it up after he soldered it than he did soldering the badge between the brush and the alcohol and just polishing the badge perfectly, was once again Bash Ninja, because he's a little bit OCD. So let's give it up for Tyler and Bash. The prizes for those I've got downstairs in the HHC, so both of you, if you'll find me, we'll walk down after this and go get those. And then the other thing, how many of you guys did the labs this year? Did you like the labs? Good, bad? Okay. The labs were a lot of fun. I made some and Misha made some. We did them together. Misha wanted to take a little bit of time and recognize a few of the people that put in a little bit of extra effort at the labs. So Misha can come up here for just a second, and he's just gonna say thanks to a few people that did good for those. So while he's walking up, tell Misha thanks for putting in his time and working on those.
Yeah, I have to bend over. So, hi everyone, my name is Misha. I helped with Hacker Labs this year. I want to say thanks to the SAINTCON for letting us have it this year. I think it's a great conference, and I want to say thanks to everyone who came and tried Hackers Labs. So that said, the aspect of Hackers Labs was Hackers Challenge, but there was also an educational aspect. And there were a couple of people that were trying very hard, and that made me be proud of those people, and want to recognize the beginning but giving them some prizes. So I'm just going to call out 3 people that did a great job in the labs. So Recon Jack, and then Lambda and Bacchus. So if you're one of those 3 individuals, come find me after, and I would love to give you prizes. And thanks again for letting us do this year again. Thanks.
Anyway, real quick, just as I finish, I want to tell everybody again, thank you so much for helping with the communities and making it really a community. I can't tell you how many times I've heard as we go through this con that this is the best security conference because it's the one where everybody's friends and you can ask anybody to help you with anything. So being over communities, I love that I can say we're over communities, and it really is a community. But next year, like Kevin said, we're going to do a call for communities like he did for Call for Contests this year. So start coming up with ideas. If you had ideas for the communities this year, feedback, things you want better, things you want different, please hunt me down on Slack, on Twitter, here in person, whatever. Let's make next year 10 times better and come out and help us. Thanks again, guys.
One of the things we tried to do this year was get everyone involved in other parts of the con. We know a lot of people come out just for the Hackers Challenge, and then they put their head down and they disappear for 5 days. So that's why you saw a lot of contests integrated into other things. I know we had some stuff in Tamper, we had packet capture, a lot of the hacker labs. We're going to continue to do those things to make you spread out. Hopefully get you to interact with other people. So hopefully that's okay, because we're going to force you guys to do it anyway. So for the After Dark labs, how many people went to the After Dark labs? Yeah, okay, not a lot of people who are still here, but hopefully your families enjoyed it as well. I know mine did. This is Mini Lean. So this is the donkey car racing, something that we were kind of walking around at DEF CON, and Distracted Dave was running it at DEF CON, and I walked up to him and said, hey, this is really cool, I'd like to see this at Saint. He said, let's do it. What do we need? And I said, well, what budget do you need? And he said, we can do it. I've got some cars. We'll throw out some carpet and we'll get it done. And this was only intended to be kind of an after dark thing. And the kids loved it. It got so popular, I mean, the kids kind of took over the controllers and were driving them around. But the intent was, it's an automated driving car, RC car, right? So there was a challenge for you guys to be able to hop in, build your simulations, build your models, transfer them to the car, and then let the car self-drive around this track. I think it was really popular. I want to bring it back next year. And we had a guy who had successfully completed the simulations and ran the track at least 3 times, and he took home one of the cars. And we just gave him one of the cars. And that, I think his name is, I've got it right here, Nathan Dougal. So let's give him a round of applause. And I know he's here because he has the car. We just gave it to him. But one of the things you want to do next year is prep. So you can spend a lot of time prepping in your simulations prior to coming to the con. So make sure, let's do it as a pre-con. So that way it forces you guys to do that, get more people involved. RetroPie, this was fun. So we kind of set this up the first Monday night just to make sure things were working, but it got so popular that we kind of left it up at the contest and event station. And then during the After Dark, we had the kids just all over it, right? One thing I did was I tweeted out saying, hey, to kind of go with the theme of Ready Player One, for those of you who've either read the book or watched the movie, both are fantastic, the first person to find the Easter egg gets a prize. And the Easter egg referenced in the book was the old adventure game. The first Easter egg ever was in the old adventure game, right? And so if you were able to find this hidden egg and take it back to one of the earlier stages, this is what would happen, okay? It was a way for the developer to get their name into the game, because back then developers' names weren't in the credits. So we did have an individual complete this challenge. And I apologize, I didn't grab your name before we came up here. You know who you are. If you are around, I have your prize over here. But let's give that person a round of applause. And if any of you have ever tried this and attempted this, you know that bat will take your sword and your keys, and you have to keep reiterating through to get it going. So with that said, thank you for those who participated in contest events. It is one of the highlights of my conference experience, watching all of you learn and interact with each other. It's really exciting. The only thing I ask is give me more ideas so we can have other people do them for us. So with that, I'll hand it back to Troy.
All right, only a few slides left, and then we're going to get the work done. All right, so in closing, a couple of housekeeping items. If any of you recognize any of those things still exist in our Lost and Found. One of them is a magazine for a pistol, it looks like. A Mazda 323 or something, a lost badge. Oh, we have a lost credit card as well, and a couple of other sundry things. So if any of those look familiar, please see what might be left of our registration booth downstairs, or come find us. All right, and then this is the last slide. We want to thank you for attending and enjoying our conference. It's kind of our baby. We love it, but we love that everybody else loves it too, and that we we create this community together. So we as the committee applaud you. For coming out and making SAINTCON one of the greatest conferences we think that's out there. Okay, the last slide is volunteer teardown. One of the things we love about SAINTCON is the volunteerism. It's not a guilt trip thing. If you've got places to go and things to do, you don't need to stick around. But if you would like to help us tear down the conference, we would love to have that participation. Let me lay down some ground rules though. So power strips and things like that are underneath of the desks that you guys are on. We would love for the power strips to be unplugged and set on top of the desks. We'll bring back some black bins around a little bit later, and you can help us pull some of those things and put them in there. But the power cords, the extension cords, are mostly the venues, so don't pull those up as well. We do not want any help with any AV things. The AV crew likes to do things very particularly, and so you can volunteer and maybe get assigned a task, but come talk to Pope or one of the popes. There's a lot of them up here this year. And things. So power strips and other things, those are the things that we can use some help with. We're going to be building pallets and all kinds of other things downstairs. So if you want to stick around and find something to do, please do. We don't need all of you. Half of you can go home and things, but we appreciate those that would be willing to help us get out of here soon. All right, with that, we've done closing ceremonies in record time. We've never done it in less than an hour. We're at 50, well, if we take the 10 minutes off the front, we did this in 42 minutes. Woo! And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, everybody else, thank you very much. That's it. We're done.
Hey, real quick, everyone. Give Troy a round of applause for organizing this every year. Without him, none of us would be here. And the sheep over here are a second place prize for the vault.